Hello everybody and welcome back to Combe Valley Campers. Today we've got something special for you. We're going to be taking this air-cooled camper van and we're going to do a test and tune on a rolling road. We've never really gone through any mechanical or engine work with you guys on Combe Valley Campers, but we have just picked up this bus. This is for a customer, and I managed to pick it up from Cornwall a few weeks back, and on the drive back I realised that it needed a bit of a test and tune. And we're really fortunate where we are that we've got Jon Wood, who is basically a engine and tuning genius, and he has a rolling road. So what we've done today is we've brought the bus here to Jon and we're going to have it test and tuned. We can have the carb played around with, but I'm going to learn today, and I hope you are going to learn today, all about how we do a test and tune. So first of all, thanks very much for allowing us to come and see you today. Just tell us a little bit about what you do here.
Engine building, car fabrication and full machine shop, so
awesome.
Everything from a roll cage to reboring an engine block.
Awesome. And I've already seen, and I'm sure everybody's already seen, the absolute machinery you've got around here, some of the engines you've got sitting around. And is that sort of day to day for you, or is rolling road more your thing?
It's all split. The business is probably 30 to rolling road, fabrication and the engine building, machining.
Yeah.
And a bit of day to day as well.
Yeah.
So
well,
everything unfortunately.
A shop like this to me is absolutely brilliant. I love having a look around, seeing everything you've got in here, especially some of the race cars you've got in development as well. Tell us what we're going to do on this today.
We're going to run it up, check basic parameters, the fueling, ignition timing, see what faults it has got. We can record it on the computer and adjust it accordingly.
Awesome. And so
hopefully it's not too bad.
So we brought this down, just to let you guys know, we brought this down about an hour ago. We had a nice little 25-minute drive down here, so it's nice and warm. We've now backed it up onto the ramp. It's all strapped down. Jon's actually gone ahead and started plugging in all the bits and pieces that he needs to check to actually run it up and start getting some data from the engine. But if I take you round the back now, you can see what engine we're dealing with. The van we've got today then is an early air-cooled VW T3 or Type 25 or Vanagon, whichever you want to call it. The engine is a 2-litre CU air-cooled motor. The carb it's got is a twin-choke Weber, and that's about it. That's the only sort of aftermarket part it has on it. The actual carb itself is provided by a Facet 12-volt fuel pump. It then goes through a fuel pressure regulator and is fed directly to the carb. In terms of the engine bay, it seems to have some aftermarket leads that are nice in red, and it has a remote oil pressure sensor, and that's about it. It's a really nice engine to, it's a really nice van to drive. The engine's nice and sweet. However, there's some bits and pieces that Jon is going to play with. And if you just go through a couple of the sensors, Jon, that we've got on here and how that's going to help us determine what to do with the engine.
Yeah, so we've hooked up a timing light which is just over the seat, which is going to record the RPM, and later on we'll do the ignition timing. And up the exhaust we've got an oxygen sensor to record the air to fuel mix. So we can log all that on the computer, on our runs, monitor fueling, and see where it needs a bit more or a bit less fuel.
Brilliant. I'm really looking forward to it.
Any problems with it?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Obviously, there's a couple of other bits and pieces I'm going to be doing within this engine bay once we're all said and done. For a start, this engine seal's a bit knackered and there's a gap. Now, if you know air-cooled engines at all, that seal is really, really important because you're trying to keep the top half of the engine up here cool, because this is where the cold air is fed in, and the hot part of the engine is underneath that tinware. And if any of the hot air seeps through that seal, then you're just going to be recirculating warm air back in to try and cool an engine, which isn't really going to work. And on that note, what we've got here is a fan that's sort of fed directly into the inspection hatch, directly into the fan, which is then going to feed cold air. Because obviously we're in a confined space, so having extra airflow here is kind of imperative, really, isn't it?
Yep.
If it was a water-cooled van, we'd obviously have this fan at the front where the radiator is, but in this instance, having the fan right there is perfect. But I think we're all set and ready to go. Is that right?
Yeah, we're ready to run. I need to set the machine now, warm the van up, and do a few base runs to see how we are.
Awesome. I look forward to it. What Jon's doing now is we're going to be warming up the motor. He's going to be running it at about 60 miles an hour. So we're going to be third gear, 60 miles an hour, get the engine nice and hot. And if you check in the back, you can see the sort of RPM and the airflow mixture that we're going to be reading as well. So we've just done a first bit of data now we've got is just seeing what revs the engine we're at third gear, in third gear at 60 miles an hour. So 4,950 I think it was, so 4,950 revs for 60 mile an hour in third gear. Now, I mean, Jon knows what he's doing, so I absolutely trust him. I don't know if I've ever taken an air-cooled engine up to $5 grand, but he knows what he's doing and he's done this before for me, so it's really, really interesting. So what we're going to do, he's now put a load on the rollers, and then we're going to do our first loaded run.
Just want to check we've got full throttle from the pedal. That's hard down.
That's hard down at the minute.
So he's full throttle on the pedal. Right. We're not full throttle on the carburettor. Okay, all off. And then one more time. Yeah, the second choke's not open enough, so see how far extra that's got to go. When he's full throttle at the pedal end, it's to the floor, it is actually moving the butterflies in the carburettor, so they are actually fully open. I find with a lot of these campers, because of a distance for a cable and the pedal and sort of a few linkages it has to go through, they never really achieve full throttle. I'm just going to have a quick look at that. Just get the basics right first.
One of the first problems we've got then, or one of the first problems that Jon has found, is that the carb isn't actually getting full movement from the pedal. So we're putting the pedal down and the actual throttle is not having its full movement. So Jon's under there now, he's adjusting the linkages underneath, so we can hopefully get the full movement of that throttle on the actual carburettor. Now, with a van such as this, the air-cooled vans, you've got such a long distance between the pedal and the carb, there's lots of variations and lots of movements that can be had. So we're going to try our best, see what we can get, and hopefully that will make the van drive better and we can get, you know, maybe a couple of extra brake horsepower out of it as well. That's off now?
Yeah, and on.
That's to the floor there.
That's it, that's on. That's up. Okay.
Mate.
Just make sure it's returning.
So what you saw us do in the first run then was, first of all, put the van under a load so we could actually get a brake horsepower figure, and so Jon could actually get a feel for the engine and the carburettor setup, where he could feel any misses or any hesitations within the engine. And we've come up with this graph here. Jon, can you explain what we're seeing on this graph for us?
Yeah, so the first sort of basic run after warming up, the blue line is torque, green line is horsepower at the flywheel, red's at the wheels. So it's actually recorded 60 horsepower at the flywheel, 48 at the wheels, at a peak RPM at 4.3. Torque without pulling off on the screen is, let's say it's 70, for argument's sake, 72. Seems to tail off very early. I mean, I know it's not a racing engine as such, but 4.5 it's really come off cam, starting to roll, hence why I didn't keep running it. So first basic check, because he's a bit notorious for not full throttle, was just checking full throttle. Yeah. We're a bit shy, it wasn't too bad, but so we'll give it another run now on a full throttle, check the fueling again, timing, then carry on from there.
Excellent, good stuff. So there we go. We've got the we've got the throttle position. We've got the movement of the throttle now sorted. Jon's happy that we're actually getting a full range of movement from not touching the accelerator pedal at all to all the way down to the floor. We're actually seeing a full range of movement on that carburettor. So let's go ahead. Let's go and give it another go.
Let's rip.
We have gained 3 horsepower already. Now I know it's not all about horsepower figures, it's all about making this a really smooth drive. So we did the throttle lead before, sorry, the throttle cable before. We've now got full throttle on the pedal.
About 1 horsepower.
Well, it's still better than it was. And then we saw you messing with the timer before. Let us know what you did there.
Yeah, the timer was quite retarded, so I set it at 10 degrees at idle. And it picked up a lot. You could physically hear it a lot better. I mean, it doesn't. We'll overlay some runs later on as we've gone through the stages of changing the car as to where we've gained and where we've lost, or what have you. It picks up a lot nicer. It's got a lot more torque from that. As a benefit, we've gained another 2 or 3 horsepower. I've just given it another run, given it another 2 or 3 degrees. It's 34 degrees all in now. Yeah. So we'll leave that for a minute. The feeling's not too bad. Going to get a little trim. We might have a little peak later on when we've got the fueling a little bit tighter, but moving forward.
Awesome, no.
Slowly.
Excellent, no, I know. To see that figure, even just to see all of this data, it's really, really good, because I don't know if I've ever seen an air-cooled engine on the dyno, especially in a vehicle like this. So just to have the sort of data is really, really good. What's the next stage?
Next stage is take the carburettor off the top, see what jets are in it. It's a little bit rich at the bottom. Yep. So I hope we might pull up a little bit of torque at the bottom by leaning it off a touch, and it actually swings the other way towards the top. So a little bit lean at the top. So if we can try and balance out the 2 jets, see how it responds. Sometimes they all behave a bit differently sometimes, but so we're trying to trim the fueling a bit and maybe gain another half a horsepower or something.
I know, right? It was never the most powerful engine, and to stick it in a vehicle like this, it's quite a lot to ask for a little motor like that.
But the torque's a monster. They got loads of torque on them.
Yeah.
So you don't often see the horsepower line below the torque line.
Yeah.
You know. So
it's good. Looking forward to it. And then when we're going to tear down the carb and look at jets, we'll talk about them further.
Yeah. I'll pull the top off because it's got a choke assembly on it, which is a bit of a pain. So we'll take them off, see what sizes are in there, and keep pushing forward.
Awesome, let's do it.
Okay, just so pull the top of the carburettor off, check the jets which are down there, and just notice that it's got they should have an insulator block between the carburettor and manifold. Luckily I carried them, so we're going to take the carburettor off now, put this insulator block, just shield some of the heat from the fuel bowl, which you want to try and keep as cold as possible. So we're going to do that now, and then I'll look at a bit of jetting. So secondary main jet. And the primary. So I'll go and measure these. See what we got. I've got a 140 secondary main. 130. It is a 137. So as stamped, 137 and 140. So we can have a little tune of them. I've changed the primary and the secondary main jets at the bottom. Check they're the right size with the tool. Just adjust them just a touch, because the holes are so small. It's 1.4 and I've gone for a 1.45 for a bit more fuel at the top, and I've gone down to a 135 and I had a 137 in the primary just to try and lean up a touch. It's the accelerator pump jet, which helps it get off idle by giving it a little squirt of fuel through his nozzles. Because it's got a little bit of a stutter down the very bottom, I just want to make sure this was clear. They've got a one-way valve and the ball's free, so that's all good. And they've either got a single or a twin, and this has got a single in it. Sometimes some cars or engines prefer two, some prefer one. For the sake of just trying it, I'm going to put a double squirter in, just if it needs a bit more fuel, get it out of the idle circuit. But then we'll run it again, just a small change without going crazy all the time.
Yep.
All looks clean in there, the fuel level's alright. It's got a high speed enrichment jet in it, so no, we'll just adjust them, give it another run, see if it picks up a bit nicer and makes any more horsepower.
Yeah man, ponies, more ponies.
Okay, so we've now got a double squirter, and we'll just see if that responds to wanting a bit more off idle.
Huge torque curve on it, isn't it, compared to the brake horsepower curve?
Yeah, it's just air-cooled, that's just the way they seem to be.
So we've now gone so far from 60 at the flywheel to 65. We've gone from 48 to 52 brake horsepower at the wheels, which doesn't seem a lot, but it's already...
It's percentages, but
yeah,
it's how it feels a bit. It does feel a little bit sharper.
Well, you can tell by the throttle response when you're going full throttle.
Yeah,
it sounds like a lot smoother going through the range, and the moment you snap that pedal back, it's really picking up compared to what it was anyway when it first pulled in this morning.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, and that's all good so far. Might give one more trim on the jet. But we're getting there.
Good stuff, man. And that's just timing,
a little bit of timing, a little bit
throttle.
Of jetting, and a full throttle.
Yeah. And obviously the ability to run it on a rolling road, which makes all the difference.
Yeah, I'm running each run at the same temperature, so consistent running each temperature, so there's no differences with changes. And Yeah, I mean,
and it's all looking good in terms of the airflow. That's not emissions, is it? So people don't get confused. That's not an emissions thing.
No, it's measuring fuel to air, so your ratio of fuel to air. An older vehicle like this, you would run a little bit richer.
Yeah.
It's pretty close.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, well done.
Lovely.
How rude.
Sorry about that.
There's your first blooper.
So you've just made a little bit of an adjustment there, but you're not happy with it. Can you go into that a bit further for us?
Yeah. The main jets I'm quite happy with in a minute. Fueling it is pretty good now. Well, I'm happy with it. But I thought I'd just change the air correctors, which is a bit more of a top end of the primary, the top end of the secondary jetting system. And I only trimmed it a bit, but didn't quite work out. As a result of a loss of a couple of horsepower. That's how sensitive some of these
really
tiny holes are.
Yeah.
So we'll go back to where we were. Just get our figures back again, give it another little tweak on ignition. I think we're pretty close because we seem to be hitting a wall at mid 60s horsepower. I don't think there's a lot more in it.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a lot sharper. I'm a lot happy with that pickup.
Yeah.
So we're not always chasing horsepower, it's just drivability. And
That's exactly what
I
this
think
is.
it's going to drive, well, we'll road test it in a bit, but
yeah.
It feels a lot sharper on take up.
And the thing is with this van, I mean, as of tomorrow, we're going to be fitting a high top roof to this. So to have that torque there, because obviously it's going to be an even bigger shape. This little engine is going to be trying to push a bigger shape through. So to have that bottom end torque as well, again, we're not necessarily all about the top speed with these. No. It's about getting you there, and you know, if you've got a nice big fat torque curve there to push you through, I think that's going to be absolutely spot on for this little engine.
Just make sure you bump the roof down, because if you accelerate hard, it's going to fly off the back.
Yeah.
So we'll just trim them a little bit, put them back again.
Yep.
But we're definitely getting close. Yeah, I'm happy.
Super. Thank you very much. I've just done a little Google on what this engine should have produced. Now, the information I've just done on a quick 2-minute Google is that in 74, it's the same boxer engine. The 2-litre CU should make 69 brake horsepower. Now, it doesn't say whether it's at the wheels or at the flywheel, but you've just done the final run on this, and we've got...
Final run. I'm happy with it now. We are making a grand 68.
68 at the flywheel.
The flywheel, peak RPM 4722, and it doesn't roll over. It starts to roll over a lot towards the end, but it seems to have held a bit more than when we first started.
Yeah.
I can overlay the first and last run in a little bit for you, but I don't think she's got much more to give.
Do you know what?
I'm not worried about that, but it feels... It's ready for a road test now, and I would like to run it on the road first, and if it's all good, then go. If not, we'll have another little tweak if it's got any other hiccups. But
yeah, absolutely.
in here it seems fine.
And again, looking at the information that you can get online, these are all designed for torque, not top end.
Oh yeah.
So, and again, looking at the curves, it's got way more torque than it ever will have brake horsepower. But with the little carb, the 2-litre, we discovered that it does have electronic ignition in here.
Electronic ignition.
The aftermarket facet fuel pump, the fuel pressure regulator.
It's all good.
Not a massive amount of changes really, and yet we've still managed to squeeze out
a whopping
68 when it left the factory with 69. Allegedly.
What did it come in with?
54?
No, surely not. No. 60, I'd say.
Yeah.
We'll check, but I think it was 60.
Yeah.
So 8 horsepower and enough torque to...
And in terms of percentage, that's going to be huge. We'll have to work it out, but
yeah,
that's going to be a huge percentage gain.
Yeah.
I think. And the drivability, you can even tell how snappy the throttle response is now. There's no bogging down at the low end which you discovered straight away, didn't you?
Yeah. No, it's ready to win loads of races now.
Excellent. No, okay, well let's bolt this thing back together and I guess take her out for a drive, right?
Yeah, road test now, make sure it's all good, because obviously in here is good, but you can't beat real world stopping at junctions, pulling away, stopping, you know, the whole driving scenario. And if that's all good, you can clear off.
Excellent, sounds good to me.
Nice.
Cheers.
That's where we started. If I overlay, bang on the last one. Wow, pretty cool.
That is a huge gain there. So the original brake horsepower at the wheels was the purple.
So the original was, so we got, that's the original torque line here.
Yeah.
When it come in. This is our torque line now.
Mad.
And the horsepower at the wheels, flywheel, beg pardon, is that one now.
Yeah.
And it was the red one, and then these two, the matching wheels, so it's basically staggering.
Mad, look at that. So
81, we reached a huge 60 miles an hour in third gear there, look. Pulled 5,000 in total, and it made
wringing its neck.
Peak was at 4.7, so yeah.
Awesome. So good. And so you expect these sorts of losses for anybody who doesn't really, or have never seen a graph like this before.
Yeah.
Obviously a brake horsepower at the flywheel and at the wheels, you've got to take into consideration you're transferring that motion through a gearbox, through a differential, through the drive shafts, through the rear bearings, the tyres, and then the load on the vehicle as well. So
as a rule it's somewhere 18%, 20% depending on sort of vehicles, but
yeah,
you've got huge losses.
But
some people tried to eliminate so much losses.
As a beginning and an end result, perfect.
Yeah. No,
thank you so much.
Well, let's see what it's like on the road.
Test drive time. We've now done the tune, we've done the rolling road, we've got that brake horsepower figure, we've got the drivability on the rolling road. Now Jon said, go and have a play, go and see what it's like on the road, see if it's stalling at junctions, go and do some town driving, go and do maybe some dual carriageway driving. We'll go and have a quick route round, we'll come back, report any problems, and then Jon can do some further tweaks, but let's go and do it. Already so much perkier from a standstill pulling away at a junction. There's absolutely no hesitation like there was before. Where are we going to go? I'm going to go right. We'll do a bit of town driving. No, we'll go left. Do a bit of town driving, a bit of residential or urban as they call it, and then we'll crack on. But she's taken over a lot nicer as well. It was a really high idle speed before. But he's adjusted the jets to deliver just a little bit less fuel at lower speeds, just to smoothen it out a bit. And this is just sort of cruising around now. And the other good thing as well, whilst we were doing that, I was keeping an eye on the temperatures and making sure that nothing was getting too hot. Oh, proper urban driving. You can tell lockdown's over, can't you? There's loads of traffic. So yeah, the other good thing was it wasn't getting too hot, which is always a concern with these air-cooled motors. Whoa, bit of foot down action there. Let's see what she's like. Right, coming up to a roundabout here, turning left. Wait till it's clear. That'll do. Oh, she is perky. We like that. Already. Got a nice throaty rasp on the old carburettor. Excellent. Okay, so this is about the sort of test going from around about 1800 RPM all the way up to top end, which is 5 grand. Now this is me just increasing the speed generally. You know, it's a 40 mile an hour stretch this road. So we're just doing about 40 miles an hour now, and it's cruising really nicely. You can just about hear the carburettor, but that's just because the carburettor's so tall in that engine bay, they've actually had to make a cutout. You probably saw that in an earlier shot. they had to make a cutout. I'm going to let you by if you're pushing me. So the carburettor itself is quite noisy. So maybe what we'll do is maybe increase the height of that engine lid and then maybe pack it out with some further insulation, just dampen that sound down a bit. But yeah, we're what, doing 40 miles an hour now, cruising nicely. I'm just trying to head to the dual carriageway. Oh, she's peppy now. Round the roundabout, everything's sliding round in the back. There we go. So that's third. He took it up to 60 in third. I don't have the guts to do that, but boy, she is rolling. There wasn't even 60 there, didn't have the time to get to 60. Come on, let's see if we can get to that next bit of dual carriageway, do a nice little bit of fast driving for her. Oh, she's a little cruiser. Oh, baby. You know what? For 35 years old, no, 38 years old, this is not bad. We're now cruising 60, 65. Going to creep it up to maybe 70. She's happy chipping away at this sort of speed. There you go. That's cruising speed of 70. You know when you're going over 60 in one of these anyway, because the mirror's folded. So that mirror's just about to go folded. We're going to flip it around in this next roundabout. But there's the drivability through that rev range. Coming down to the roundabout now. All the way round. No hesitation, no backfiring. Squeeze the throttle. Whee, let's go. There we go. That's not good. I think all that stopping and starting on the rolling road has just said goodbye to this battery, or the alternator's not charging very well, so let's give it a push. Luckily we've got some people to help. Excellent. Well, there we go. We have got an increase in brake horsepower, increase in torque, much better drivability, and it's all down to this man. Thank you very much, John. Really appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind just going over just the bits and pieces we did as a bit of a recap.
Yeah. Basically just fuel trimming, so a bit of jetting in the carburettor, ignition timing, swinging it about, accelerator pedal, full throttle on the carburettor,
wasn't it?
We spaced the carburettor out a little bit for an insulator block, and
it fits under the engine lid just fine. We didn't hear it.
Good.
So
that's all right then.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty well everything. It responded each way. I think we had one step back where it didn't quite work out, and redid it again. And sort of hit manufacturer's horsepower somehow. I know, right? So after 38 years, this is a 82. Yeah, after 38 years, we managed to bring the horsepower back up to what it would have come with from factory. So yeah, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. So Jon Wood, JW Developments, he's your man if you've got a carburetted engine. And again, if you're down this way and you watch any of the stock racing or anything like that, every race car has got Jon Wood's name on it, and it's for good reason. But no, thanks very much. We're now just going to go and take this for a little drive home. We'll do some glory shots, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks very much.